but now I am super excited to introduce you to Traci Kato-Kiriyama, the author of Navigating Without Instruments, based on unceded Tongva land in the South Bay of Los Angeles, is an award-winning and transdisciplinary artist, recognized for their work as a writer, performer, theater deviser, cultural producer, and community organizer. TKK is a core artist with Vigilant Love, a member of the HR 40 Coalition, an organizer with the Nikkei Progressives and the NCRR Joint Reparations Committee, and also the director, co-founder of Tuesday Night Project, which will be going into its 25th year. So welcome, Traci Kato-Kiriyama.
Hi, everybody. Oh, and there I am on a big screen. For myself, I want to see faces, so I'm going to put it to gallery view. That's a lot of my face. Okay, here we go. Oh, there we go. Community. All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Maybe we'll get to hear voices at the end. We'll make some time for some, discussion. So I know that we have less than an hour. So this is sort of like a mini workshop version of different workshops that I do. And this one is going to focus on a thread of death. But hopefully you read that description, so you're kind of, spiritually, mentally prepared for that. Throughout my book, Navigating Without Instruments, there are these fragments, sort of like poetic fragments that I call death moments. So the way I relate to a death moment, sometimes people will call them near-death experiences, but I see a death moment as something where you maybe face your mortality in a way that is beyond near death, whether that's in a moment of, from like, for example, when I was, 16, I was in a car accident, and for about a minute, I was convinced, I thought it was, it was all over. It was very quiet. It was very peaceful. And I accepted it with the word okay. And as soon as I said the word okay, then everything sort of like sort of opened up back again. And there were all the noises and the cars and the honking horns and everything. And so to me, it was a moment where I had faced it, right? And it was not, I don't think it was near death. I think it was like a death moment. And in other cases, it's also witnessing someone so close to us upon their death. And then I think that becomes a moment of meeting with death as well. Yeah. So I wanted to kind of like let folks explore those things today. But before we, get into I want to do a creative correspondence moment, but I want to also just do a download, because for me, this is the beginning of the morning. I don't know. I imagine there are those of you who have been up since maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m. That's amazing. I admire that. I am not that. I was, up till 3. So really, really want to honor all of our, rhythms. Yeah. But I always feel like no matter where we're at, we're coming onto this Zoom fresh and starting, our connection to each other that way. So let's do just a 2-minute download. It's just a really, this is an exercise that I think we all have done some form of. I like to consider it like a stream of consciousness, outpouring. What I usually do is if I just have a blank page, I will do no more than 3 words per line. Yeah, so I'm going to do like no more than 3 words per line, and then I'm going to just go down the sheet, and then I'm going to write across the page in columns. Yeah, so I'm going to give you a word in a few seconds. And then whatever that word gives you, I would like you to write as if you're never going to share this. So your utmost honest, uncensored flow. The point is to never stop writing for 2 minutes. Now, 2 things. It's not speed writing, so don't feel like you have to like write super fast. It's just don't stop writing, right? So whatever is coming to your mind, just let it come. And if you, the moment you feel like just remember ash. Oh, sorry, I gave you the word. There it is. You'll have this word and then you're going to just keep continuing. Okay. I'm going to change the word. Okay. Well, we'll see. Anyway, the other thing is breathe. I keep this at 2 minutes because I've noticed that people don't breathe. So please remember to breathe as you're writing. Yeah. Okay. Even if it's an intense thing, sometimes the 2 minute thing is just what we need to just get opened up and going. All right. So let me set my timer. Whatever comes out, don't censor it. Whatever comes out, comes out. You're not going to share this. Okay. All right. So the word is gray. If you have the word ash totally stuck in your mind because I said it, go ahead, go for it. So I'll give you 2 options, gray or ash. All right, and go. And relax. Whew. And breathe. Okay, how was that, y'all? Now, of course, I said you're not going to share this, but of course, there's always the option to share. So, is there someone out there that, is like, oh, I want to share this. I want to read this out loud. No pressure. Okay. That's cool. That's good. That's good. If you felt like you were just flowing and sometimes the words weren't even the right words, whatever that means, but you felt you were just attuned to whatever was actually coming to your head, then that's the task. Okay. All right. Okay, good. I'll say a little bit about this exercise. And again, I know we've all done versions of this. So the reason why I really like short exercises like this is because I realized, especially in the 8 years of making this book, the toiling with it, the running away from it, the running to it, the revamping, the throwing out of everything. There were certain things that I knew I was facing in writing this book that were very just hard. It was hard to sit down to write to, right? We all have that. And so I needed ways in which I could dive into a safe well. And that meant that I would set an alarm, I would set my timer for whatever it was, 2 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 27 minutes, relatively short, um, just so that I could allow myself to dive, knowing that I had an out in 5 minutes or 27 minutes or 25 minutes. I had an out and it was cool. You know what I mean? Even if I didn't come back to that again till the next day or the next week or the next month. Um, I love short chunks, short exercises. So hopefully we can all skill share, and if you feel like it, put in the chat your favorite short exercise and how you do that. Okay. Okay. So I want us now to think about death in different ways. I'm going to actually give you an option. Usually my workshops are like at least 2 hours, at least 2.5 hours. So I'm trying to like fit in, at least a good chunk of things for y'all. So you can write down these options for yourself. I'll also write it in the chat. But you can choose one for now and one for later. So these are both, in the creative correspondence, letter writing zone. And the first option is you're going to write a letter to self, and you're going to contemplate an old lie that you've told yourself that needs to die. A lie you've told yourself that needs to die. Now, you can write a letter to yourself about it, or you could write a letter to that lie, which I think could be more fun, right? So, letter to self, or just directly write a letter to that lie. An old lie you've told yourself that needs to die. Okay, so that's option one. Option two, write a letter to someone who has passed in the last year. So I'm super emotional about this. I've, suffered some losses in the past few weeks. And in particular, there's this person, Jim Matsuoka, who was an elder. He was 86. And he was just a big part of various things in my life. And I didn't really realize that until I contemplated the ways in which I was close to him, or I knew him, or admired him, loved him. And he was just so kind of entrenched in so many things, in community, in art, and such a champion. And so when he died a couple of weeks ago, I think ever since then, many of us have just been waking up very heavy-hearted, and trying to just, work through that and let it in and process through that. So that inspired this option. So, to write a letter to someone who has passed in the last year, of course, include at least 3 questions. And I would like you to include also a pledge for the future in homage to that person's influence. I love homage pieces, whether that's an homage poem, an homage creative correspondence, but they can be very powerful, right? Storytelling pieces or storytelling forms when we do homages. So again, a letter to someone who has passed in the last year, include at least 3 questions, and a pledge for the future in homage to that person's influence. So I'll give you 5 minutes to at least get going on that, and I'll write into the chat those options, okay? Are there any questions? Okay. If there are, just let me know.
Tracy, I put
Yeah.
the exercise in the chat.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. Thanks, Kate. Woohoo. All right. So let's go for it. And we're gonna, let's set it to Let's do 6 minutes. About 2 minutes left. And if it feels right, start the next sentence with, of course. Of course. and relax. Okay. All right, how was that? Let me see, I haven't checked in with the chat in a second. Would anyone like to read what they just wrote or a line from what they just wrote? The beginning or the end or the pledge or the question? Okay. Oh, yes, I see a hand.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I have the beginning. I didn't finish it, but I'll read the beginning.
Yes.
Dear unworthiness, we met early. I'm no stranger to you. You're no stranger to me. You took my hand in toddlerhood and have been steadily gripping for 44 years. And I think it's time I let go, because if I left that to you, you'd stay forever, and then I'd become a bitter ass elder, and I'm not about that life. You lie. You're really good at it. You show up cloaked in my feelings only to take them from me and make them yours. And then you re-gift them to me, laced with your venom and wrapped in my skin. You've mastered nestling yourself in the parts of my body that make me turn away from the mirror, run from love at its presentation, and on the days where the chance is there for me to be so happy, accept compliments and love, you whisper softly in my ear, ha. And that's where I stopped.
Ah, yes. Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. I just got to say a couple things. So, one, right, like Juanita, thank you so much, because I feel like we all have another prompt for later, dear unworthiness. I think that when I think about a space like Women Who Submit, I mean, that's kind of perfect, right? Like, for folks who at any moment we struggle with even just this idea of submitting something, or what all the things in life, right, that make it so hard for us to just feel like, yeah, well, what I have to say matters, or this thing should be read, or I really think that this is worthy of having a light on this. So I think, yeah, dear unworthiness, if we can, accept that from you, Juanita, and then credit you later, that's definitely a great prompt.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And oh gosh, that line, you know, uh, the regifting line, and just that was just, there's so many juicy things in there. So and then also, yeah, creeping into that moment, just that moment of when I'm about to accept a compliment. Ha! Like, oh wow, I would love to hear you go into a specific moment that you can remember, and what that was like to sit in that and not accept that compliment. I would love to just, yeah, read the rest of that. So thank you so much. I thought I saw another hand raised, no? Would there like to be another hand raised? Okay, all right, that's good. That's okay. Oh my gosh, where does the time go? Okay, so I'm going to read one death moment from my book, and then have us just kind of do another um, go at a couple minutes of writing. Okay, so whatever this gives you. And this was for my dad. Death moment 31. Opened the ground. Me and Ma lay down on either side. Unbury the bulging eye before you flopped back to gift final breaths. Beg you to return in every dream. Point me to the shovel, the best soil. Forgive this granddaughter and child of gardeners for disliking persimmons and not being able to save your lemon tree. Unbury the superstitions. They soften my tumble into regret. Never a fourth floor, never four stems, never a fourth grandkid. Unbury the forgotten promise, the notion of no regrets. love, regret, but to look up past their heaven to a sky of 100 billion dead. You are in the dimension of fireside peoples who stare down at us, piss acid rain on our arrogance, shout toward the clock we pummeled before it was too late. So I'd like you to just think about someone who has passed. That's just going to be the prompt and that death moment. And you're just going to write for 2 minutes in any form that you would like. Okay, just 2 minutes. And go ahead and go. Oh, okay, and relax. My gosh, I'm totally talking and I'm muted. Oh my gosh. Did y'all hear me say relax? And oh gosh, okay, you were probably still writing. Okay.
We lost you right after relax for some reason.
Oh, how funny. Okay. So, okay. So we're going to get towards this last exercise and something that you can carry on into your writing this week. So you're going to write a list. Now this is, I'd like to contemplate sort of transformation in self, in community, and in the world. And I like to do that in different ways, direct address to self, to the community, to the world, or have myself think about what needs to exist in my own spirit, in my own body, related to the need for change in the world and the power that we have to contribute to movement forward and movements in general. And so sometimes I think that in our transformation process, right, we are burying and unburying. And in a lot of the work that I do in community, it's so much about solidarity work. And it's beyond work, it's just solidarity as a grounding and a lens and a way of life and living and relating to folks. So working in different spaces, sometimes I'm asked to facilitate through writing into very hard issues that people are working towards. either demolishing or building up in the world. And so I think I really sometimes enjoy and sometimes just need to think about what we are excavating in our stories and our memories, and how we utilize those things to plan for the future, and to think differently about all of our transformation processes, and again how we're relating to each other. And I think poetry, writing in general, art in general, is such a great way for us to connect within a very small space with other people, uh, and give a sense within one reading of one poem, right, a little bit about who we are and what we value. um, and at the same time, I think in terms of burying and unburying and transformation and death, then there's also just simple self, which is not simple at all, right? Sometimes we have to work through so much um, memory excavation, memory keeping, memory work in our own spirits and lives and daily capacity for getting through the week. So all this to say, I want you to I want you to have a choice here. So maybe you are contemplating death and transformation of some aspect in yourself. Maybe you are contemplating death or transformation in some aspect of the world and what you're working towards. One of the many things you're working towards. And then also death or transformation in community, whatever that means for you. Okay. So self, community, or world, I want you to just kind of have that in your sphere right now. Have that as your POV at this moment. And I want you to write a list of the things that you feel you need to bury, and then a second list of the things you need to unbury. So if you're contemplating self and transformation and death, what are those things that you need to bury? The lies you've told yourself, the lies the world has told you, the lies family has told you, the lies your church or temple have told you, the lie again, and coming back to the lies you've told yourself. What are those things you need to bury? What are the things you need to unbury? The truth offered to you from yourself, your wisdom, your brilliance, your beauty, your strength, your spirit, your ancestors, your friends, your family, your community, your church, your temple, whatever that is, So 2 lists, bury and unbury. And what I like to do sometimes is just either do a whole list of just, phrases and words, or you can even start to build a creative piece by starting each line with the word bury, and then also each line with the word unbury, and see what that brings you. Okay. So right now you're just working on 2 lists. Any questions? All right. Just give you a few minutes. How about 3 minutes to just start digging in? Okay, start to finish your last thought. Right. Okay. So now we're going to work on a poem utilizing these two lists. And they can be in conversation with each other. They can be alternating stanzas, whatever, whatever you're drawn to, really. It could be in whatever form you choose. If you want to keep going on the process of building this piece or for this piece, and what I mean by that is sometimes I like to do lists, right? And then I'll throw in different exercises along the way before I start to sit down to craft and put these things together. So maybe this is still part of the beginning process if you want to do something where you really give a lot of thought to this idea of death and transformation of self or world or community. So you can also choose another exercise. One exercise I really like when I have like a sort of a dual sort of situation like this, bury, unbury, is to write a scene of dialogue. So you're going to write a scene of dialogue between unbury and bury. And think about who wins, who triumphs. So this is a little bit of like a free, open write time with these themes. I'll give you 6 minutes to just start in on a piece. And again, you can go right into, if you're feeling like starting to write a poem, starting to dig in, by all means, go for that. Or keep going on the process, keep building those lists, and try a scene of dialogue between bury and unbury. Okay, cool. I'll give you 6 minutes. Thank you. About 1 more minute. And relax. Okay. Hey, it went so fast. Okay. So how was that? Is there anyone that would like to share any bits, any pieces, any of that? Or anything that you have written today? Lisbeth?
Just a few phrases here and there. Those who know how to dig a hole can bury their dead. And those who can harvest fruits know nature cannot be rushed. She lives at her own pace.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Lisbeth. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I want to hear more. I want to hear the rest of that piece. Let's have Diana and then we'll go to Liz after.
I love that line, those who know how to dig holes. What do I need to bury and unbury? I bring to this grave spruce and birch, dirt on my knees, under my nails, inside my mittened hand. The smell of snow, ice, my runny nose in my red scarf. I scrape the frozen earth to see who triumphed. I find no person, only leaves and grass, a ditch, the wet branches making smoke in the dying fire on the bank. If I knew what the treasure was, I would not dig.
Wow. I'm intrigued. Whew. That, especially that last line. If I knew what the treasure was, I would not dig. You know, gosh. And then literally with that line, you're opening up so much to dive into. I also really appreciated the specificity of all of those things, those elements, those things that are very specific to you, obviously, right? Really beautiful. Thank you so much. Can we send it to Liz?
Sure. Yeah, oof, that last line. Okay.
Yeah.
Just do this real quick. This isn't the earth I thought I'd be standing on. Dust pluming as I scrape it, trees growing out of it, bearing fruit I didn't know the names of as a child. I'm digging a grave. The grave is for the following things. What I thought it would be like, what I think it will be like, what I think it was like. On those other flats of dirt, the ones I grew from, the ones I chose with a finality and confidence only a younger self could have. Never saw myself as a gravedigger, but here I am.
Oh, it's great. Do you feel like you're just getting going, like you have something that's a great launching pad? I just love also the idea of like us being grave diggers. That's another really good prompt for all of us. You know, just I'm not sure, how would I term that, the beginning of that? Can you read that last line again, please?
Yeah. So it's never saw myself as a gravedigger, but here I am.
That right there, that's a great line to begin with, for everybody.
That's what I got to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Oh gosh, if any of you who've shared or not shared, if you would email me your pieces as you are writing them, I would love to read it. I can't believe we're already here at the end, you know, but you know, an hour blazes by. Yeah. So thank you so much for, you know, diving in for a little mini workshop to begin our Saturday. Really
Open it up for questions,
Yeah.
Trey. So if folks have questions, please raise your hand. Or...
Yeah. What I always say is you can ask me anything.
This is a huge resource.
Or if you're like, I need a prompt for this, hit me with your best shot.
So I have a question.
Yes.
I wonder, like, how long, or not how long, but I guess, how do you know when your piece is finished? Because I know that as writers, like, we revisit and re-edit, but sometimes, like, how do you find that, like, okay, I can't do any more to this because I think, you know, I guess our self-doubts get in the way, and so the finality of a piece, you feel it needs more, but it's fine.
I look for the emotional reaction in myself, in my body, in my chest, when I read it out loud, when I read it out loud to the ether, and when I read it out loud to somebody, and when I read it out loud to the community, whatever the community is at that moment. You know what I mean? I think that reading something out loud helps us exceptionally with, you know what I mean, lodging into, okay, that I feel an emotional and emotional clarity, right? So there's an emotional reaction in self, and there's a clarity in what I feel is the best of my ability in this particular piece to communicate what I'm trying to say. I also think sometimes it's great to hear feedback, although that can be hard, right? If, you know, you're writing many pieces. So I do think there's something about, you know, longer pieces, getting some feedback and really steering it to not the you shoulds or, oh, that was great, or, oh, that sucked. It's more like, what landed for you? What do you think that piece is about? How did that feel? And if someone says all these great, wonderful things, but they're not clear on what you're actually saying, then you know what I mean? It's not great to just hear how great it was, right? You want to know how it actually landed for somebody, what you're communicating. So I look for clarity and emotional, you know, yeah, sort of reaction, I guess is the word I'm going for. But does that make sense? And then also, you know, again, right, like a piece isn't, I think most pieces are never done. Like even in my book, I have like little things that I write in because like I'm like, oh yeah, no, oh, that needs a lot, you know what I mean? I just literally during this workshop I added a line, two words in here on my note to reader. So you know, I don't get to like, oh no, I mean acknowledgements is where I'm like, oh no, it's in print, it's not, you know. How do you do that? How do you, I could use tips on how to organize so that you are doing a proper acknowledgement, but yeah. So yeah, read that thing out loud.
Thank you. Yeah, that's actually really helpful because I feel like I struggle the most because I'm my biggest critic. And so sometimes my ears hear things that other people are like, what are you talking about? You know, so yeah, but that's actually good to listen to my body as well, not just my thoughts. So
for sure, yeah. Totally always listen to your body. You know, I think in doing a lot of like movement and body work in the various projects that I do, or in just my practice in general. Like I think it's really necessary to understand where is it that I hold certain things. So I just know that I have a close relationship with my chest in good and bad ways, with my abdomen, my lower belly, you know what I mean, my core. Like, so I check in with those spaces when I'm doing anything creative. So to give thought to that for yourselves. Where do you hold stress? You know, where do you hold tension? Where do you hold joy? You know, what movements feel good? You know, just all those things relate, I think, to our creative process. Goodness knows, right, how much it's hard to breathe sometimes just in any creative process. Yeah, so cool. One more juicy question. Doesn't even have to be fully formed as you're asking it. Someone taught me that recently. They're like, you know what, I always wait till like I have this fully formed question, but sometimes I just want to start asking it. Okay, y'all are fully formed, so you're good. You're Is there anyone out there who's like, okay, I'm gonna have to write this thing in the next 2 months and I could use a prompt for? Okay. That's cool too. You're all good. You're all good. You know,
Okay.
anyone on this call, you're welcome to send me you know, direct message. I get them probably the easiest on Instagram. I can put that in the chat.
Well,
Give me a week to respond, but I will, you know, if you're like, hey, I was in that Women Who Submit workshop and I actually had this thing, could use a prompt for, or an exercise. I love exercises. So feel free to reach out, but thank you so much, everyone.
we want to thank Traci kato-kiriyama for creating this space and this workshop. What a phenomenal workshop. So thank you so much. Please help us with future planning by filling out this short